Okay, so using variables, we just talked about that. Using variables, we just talked about that. So here's the example. Uh, we declare x, y, and z. We can declare them all together in the same line like we do here, or we can do one line at a time. That means we're saving some particular spaces in the memory for x, for y, for z. And then we assign, so this is assign 15 to x, 10 to y, and I don't know if you can read this, but x plus y equals z is another assignment. So 15 for x, 10 for y, and then we add them for z. Okay, constants are a little bit different than variables. Assigning a variable fixes a memory location for data storage. So we said it reserves a certain place in the memory for that particular variable. Within its storage limits, a variable may thereafter take arbitrary values. So just because I gave the value 5 to x, later I can change it to 10 or 12 or whatever, depending on the data type. So one thing is, when we say let x be an integer, that the computer will reserve a certain amount of memory for x. So that limits there's a limit on how big x can be, how big an integer we are actually allowed to use. So that's one other thing to think about. On the other hand, instead of a variable, we can talk about a constant. For example, here we're declaring x not as an integer, not as a variable, which we would use dim to do, but const for constant x as an integer equals 10. So now when you do this statement, you're also reserving some space for x, but you're also assigning it 10, and you're not allowed to change x because you declared it as a constant. So it won't be changeable. Now you can't read down here, but this says you can also do like const pi, capital P, capital I. So that's the name of the variable is pi as a double, not an integer, but a double is like a decimal number, and then equals 3.14. I wish I could show you that, but I guess I could do it this way. Okay, I'll do it this way. So you can see it, oops, here. You can see it like that. Okay, const pi as double equals 3.14. Okay, and I go back to, I don't know, can you see this? Const pi as double equals 3.14. So that's another possibility, and that's defining a constant. So what does it say here? For a constant, both memory location and the stored value are fixed. The location is of course fixed, and the stored value is also fixed. The VBE syntax for declaring a constant is this: constant name as data type equals value, like this one here. Constant is a keyword, so it's a reserved word in Visual Basic for declaring the constant. Constant name and value are the name and value of the constant. Data type is the type of constant. So here we use integer, then we also use double. We didn't talk about double yet, really. Variables can also be given initial values. So that's a little different. So you can do this. In both cases, this is called initialization. So you could do this. Dim x as integer equals 6. So we're declaring x as an integer and saying it's equal to 6, but this is not a fixed value. You can change it later. But if you do this one here, you can't change it later. Okay? So this declares an integer variable x and sets its starting value to 6. And this statement here and this statement here are both called initialization. So you're giving a value to the variable. Well, actually, this is giving a value to the constant. Okay, next we're going to talk about data types, and I've talked about this informally several times already. So now we're going to go through it in a little more detail. In fact, I'll make a new video.